So we're live now. Hi, Marilyn.
Am I
So
on?
I want, yeah, we are ready to go. So
Okay, so you're
everybody,
going to give me a countdown?
we're already there.
Oh, we're there.
Yeah, I just wanted to tell
Bonsoir.
you that it's time. So
Okay.
everybody, I want to introduce you to Marilyn. Keller is going to be our MC for the evening, and I'll let her take it away.
Bonsoir, monsieur et madame. Welcome to the Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble Composers Cookoff. In this three-chorus meal of a fundraiser, we've challenged three Portland jazz composers to a musical contest. Who can offer the most captivating, the most flavorful, the most memorable new composition dish inspired by the Duke Ellington classic, Don't Get Around Much Anymore? We've picked out a panel of three celebrity judges to serve up their impressions of music as food, and you, the supporters of this organization, pick the composer who will receive tonight's first prize. Tonight, we will present these three musical gourmands who will evaluate the feast set before your ears and eyes. I begin with George Colligan, a jazz heavyweight champion, pianist, drummer, trumpet player, and composer. As an incredible mentor and educator at PSU, the Portland jazz scene, and around the world. Next, Daryl Grant, an internationally renowned pianist, composer, and educator at PSU. He channels the power of music to effect change. Daryl has contributed The Territory and Step by Step, the Ruby Bridges story, to the pantheon of jazz chamber music. His jazz opera, Sanctuaries, will premiere through the auspices of Third Angle Music in 2021. Our third judge, Mrs. Marcia Hawker, is a passionate supporter of the Portland jazz community as a board member on several jazz arts organizations, and she is a volunteer DJ at KBOO Jazz Radio. Before we get to the music, we want to thank our sponsors, Bow and Arrow Wines, JGP Wealth Management, Toscano Advisors, the 1905, and many thanks to our partners, Montevilla Jazz Festival. We'll tell you more about them a bit later, but for now, I'm pleased to introduce board member Martin Mueller to tell you about some exciting PJCE news.
Thank you, Marilyn, and hello to friends old and new here tonight. Really glad that you've joined us. I am honored to say a few words about the PJCE Strategic Planning Initiative. This is a very important effort. It has been launched to help us achieve two critical outcomes. First, clear decisions about our purpose, and then the strategy and commitment to those decisions. Our plan is compelled and motivated by the implications of the COVID-19 pandemic, by the urgent movement for racial justice, and by the changing economic and cultural demands that Portland artists are experiencing. The bottom line is that we are doing this for one purpose only: to help PJCE do an even better job at serving this community. We began this planning about a year ago through a strategic planning committee, board participation, the assistance of a consultant supported by the Oregon Cultural Trust. The process has been quite extensive. It has included artist and audience surveys, an analysis of our finances and programming history over the last 3 years, and perhaps way too many meetings and work together. But it's been fulfilling, and we're quite excited about it. We have identified 4 key strategic directions with goals attended and actions set towards those goals over the next 2 years. Our first key strategic direction is equitable and inclusive community participation by as diverse a population as possible among our artists, audience, and within PJCE staff and leadership. Number 2, flexible and adaptive programming that supports and engages our community during and after pandemic conditions. And of course, we're experiencing part of that as we sit here tonight. Number 3, increased financial growth and sustainability to ensure a robust future for PJCE and for Original Jazz in Portland. And number 4, efficient and effective organizational capacity, infrastructure, to maintain the highest possible professional outcomes as a creative organization. You will be hearing much more about this work on the web and in messaging. This is a reiterative and ongoing process, and we invite additional community and stakeholder participation to help us achieve our vision of success. And as we determine our first priorities, we must reconcile what we want with what we have. It should be clear that we need your financial help in this. Your presence here shows that you care about the future of local jazz in Portland. And whether you are a new friend or a continuing supporter of PJCE, I urge you to help us. With your support and building on our established history, you can personally make the difference in growing a more responsive PJCE to best and better support our dynamic community of artists, audience, and students of jazz in Portland. Thank you. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce our fearless leader, Executive Director, Doug Detrick.
Thanks so much, Martin. So I just, I have just a couple things to add to what Martin said, and, this has been a big deal for us. It's kind of an important time for us that we kind of took this opportunity of the pandemic. We were going to do that anyway. We were going to do a strategic plan anyway, but we took this opportunity at this moment in time to kind of reevaluate our priorities and also reevaluate how it is we're going to achieve those things. And so those things that Martin talked about are kind of the results of that. And you're going to be hearing more. And we have much more work to do, but that's the beginning of it. And those are the most important principles. And I'll also say that it's just been obviously, we all know this. It's been a really tough time for everybody, though artists and musicians and other creative types have been hit especially hard by this virus and by the economic conditions that it has kind of forced on everybody. And so when I look into the future, and even in the next year or two, I see a Portland jazz community that where our role as an organization that is an incubator for artists is even more important than it was, just a year ago. Certainly more than it was 10 years ago when we began as an organization. So just a couple last things to say that I, maybe add a little bit more detail to those kind of broad things that Martin said are that right now our large ensemble, you've kind of always known us as a organization that has this 12-member large jazz ensemble. The ensemble, we put it on hiatus for the pandemic because we didn't want to, even if our musicians really wanted to get together and play, we didn't want to put them at risk. And so we decided to ask them to just be on hold, and we'll get back to them as soon as possible. But during that time, we have begun, as you've seen with our PJCE online events, we begin to start to build our programming with composers that are working in small groups, because almost all of jazz these days is made that way, and that's where ideas begin, and that's where they develop. And then what we want to do is approach those small group projects that we have a hand in curating and supporting. We want to expand those into large ensemble projects, and so you'll see more and more of that. Ideas that begin in small groups in our programs become expanded into projects for the large ensemble as soon as we can bring it back and public health conditions allow for that. So I wanted to say one other thing, and that is an idea that I wanted to share with you just to consider. So this is an idea that we've thought about and helps us kind of organize our thinking about how do we support the community and what are we trying to achieve. And that is the idea of a composer spectrum, where there's kind of a wide area where lots of people fit in. These are maybe music students who think they could be a composer, but they don't know how. Maybe they've written their first piece just very hesitantly for themselves. And then we move all the way to, along the spectrum to somebody who has a very highly developed, creative, unique voice, who has all kinds of technical skills in knowing how to write for the instruments that they use, and being able to meet different kinds of the demands of different types of musical settings. And so our goal then is to take people from one side of the spectrum and move them towards the other as artists. And if we can achieve that kind of every little step of the way, then we'll be doing our job. And I hope that as we have more and more composers in our community who are taking steps along that pathway, from not yet beginning to a very experienced and very established composer, our community will benefit, because we'll have all this original music being made and being enjoyed in the clubs by a larger audience. That's the goal. So I was going to say that I part of the pandemic for me is that I grew this beard. I never had a beard before, but now I do. And it's just one of the changes that I've gone through. But there are, of course, going to be very insignificant changes like this one. And there are also going to be very, very significant changes for a lot of people in our community. And we know this is a hard time. Those minor cosmetic changes are there, but the more profound changes of artists maybe being knocked off of their career paths, that's something that, hopefully we can play a part in, kind of lessening the damage that has resulted at this time right now. So as we ask for your support tonight, and you think about what it means to you to have an active and a vibrant jazz community here in Portland, think about that, how that has benefited you. And I'm here because as a young person growing up, getting kind of this glimpse of this creative jazz community gave me a vision of myself as somebody who could be a creative person, who could realize my own aspirations creatively, but also to connect with a lot of other people who had a similar vision. So that is why I am here, and I encourage all of you to chip in tonight and help us meet that goal. So without further ado, I am going to bring back our illustrious mistress of ceremonies. Here she is, Marilyn Keller.
Douglas.
I unmuted you. There you are.
There we go. Thank you, Douglas.
Marilyn, take us forward here.
I will do that. I'll begin with a slight introduction of myself again. And I was asked what was my personal reason for supporting Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble. And I was taken from the beginning of contact with you, Douglas, at the Armory Theater during the play Ain't Misbehavin'. If you remember, we did a conversation there, an artist exploration after the play that night, and we developed a project together from Maxville to Vanport. And it was the most incredible feeling of being part of the lead up and the development of a project of that scope and that size. And that's what made me want to be a part of this organization. And then this last summer, I was invited to become a member of the PJCE board of directors. And that was something I'd never been asked before. And I was a little bit, I was honored, but I was a little bit shaken by the invitation. I didn't know what was entailed with that invitation. But I was warmly invited to sit in on a couple of board meetings before I made my decision, and just meeting the souls and the minds and the hearts that are so interested in promoting this idiom of music across not just the Portland metropolitan area, but across the state and across the country. That's what made me want to become a part of that board. And I want to invite you viewers here tonight to explore the Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble website. That's www.pjce.org. And tonight we're going to ask you to add on /sustain to that so that you can go and make your donations to this event. But I want you to also seek out the artists that are featured here tonight. Douglas Detrick is the leader of several ensembles. He has a blog that I really, really enjoy reading. And I have a website, so does George Colligan, Daryl Grant, Kathleen Hollingsworth, Machado Majiga, and Jasnam Dea Singh. We all have our social media accounts up there. And we need you to share that information across your friends and family base so that we can be elevated into the scene and the spotlight. And we can only do that if you share this information and join our journey forward. So this evening, I want to ask you to become a PJCE sustainer by donating $60 or $5 per month or more. You can get something in return for that donation. You get free access to the PJCE online events, discounts on PJCE records, releases, and tickets for live events whenever we get back to be able to do them, and also for the virtual concerts like this that we're doing tonight. Most importantly, you're supporting an organization that values the goals that we just described. And we know that the first 15 donors will receive a 1-pound bag of fresh roasted coffee from Belmont shipped to your home. So thank you, Belmont, for sponsoring that. And all donors after the first 15 early birds will be entered to win one of four $30 gift certificates from the 1905. It's a favorite jazz venue of ours that is open right now and offering takeout and delivery of its excellent pizza and other Italian food classics. My favorite, of course, is the truffle. So now it's time for some music. Our first contestant chef tonight is keyboard artist, singer, composer, and educator, Kathleen Hollingsworth. She's the director of vocal music performance and technology at Clackamas Community College. She's the leader of Renegade Gospel. She has earned her bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in choral music education. She inaugurated the Play Choir at the annual Burning Man Festival. It's grown to more than 70 members. Her album, excuse me, Maria, Full of Joy, was inspired by and dedicated to a beloved friend who passed away. And it presents Kathleen with harmony vocals, singing country rock and gospel. Her latest album, Ish, presents her in a mode closer to jazz. An accomplished arranger, Kathleen collaborated with PJCE on Plus 12, a concert of original songs by 5 Portland-based singer-songwriters, arranged by 6 Portland jazz composers for the 12-member PJCE Performance Ensemble. Tickets will also be available for an upcoming project with PJCE on Sunday, December 14th. Here, for your delectation, is Kathleen Hollingsworth and her version of Don't Get Around Much Anymore.
My name's Kathleen Hollingsworth, and when the COVID pandemic hit in March, I thought it would be fun to take this song, Don't Get Around Much Anymore, and change up the lyrics. So the pandemic was the inspiration for this sort of rearrangement of a great old vocal classic by Duke Ellington. And Doug here has asked me to liken this to some sort of food, and the best thing I could maybe come up with is a cheese plate, because it's kind of a cheesy tune. It's like everybody's cheesiest vocal tune, but I love Duke Ellington, and I actually really love this song. So if we're associating with this arrangement with food, I'm going to go with cheese, and preferably the hard kinds, because the other kinds don't do so well on my digestion. So yay, PJCE. No virus took over, don't get around much anymore. I thought I'd visit the mall. I got as far as the parking lot. It looked just like a ghost town. I don't get around much anymore. Well, darling, you bet that I'm running like hell from your sneeze. You don't want to regret catching my corona disease. I think I'll turn off the news and organize the garage. Since the virus took over, I don't get around much anymore. I've been invited to Zoom. I might have gone, but you know we're in the middle of the apocalypse, so I don't know what for. It's awful strange here without you. I don't get around much anymore. I think I'll tear up the lawn and try to grow my hand at growing my own food. Maybe raise a few chickens. It's fresh, free eggs for the picking. I'm not gonna sit around while time's just ticking away, wasting my life finger clicking every day. It's so strange here without you. I don't get around much anymore.
All right, we're going to have to use ASL signs for applause and make a visual happening for the applause at the end of the videos. But thank you, Kathleen Hollingsworth. Now, let's hear what our panel of judges have to say about this tasty dish. George, why don't you go first this time?
Okay, well, the food analogies sort of always make me hungry. But, it's interesting because she said, I know she doesn't really think it's corny, but when we talk about, when we say stuff is corny, it's like, well, corn feeds the world. So, one person's like corny to other people might be like just perfect, you know. So I didn't really think it was corny. I liked how light it was, you know, and the fact that she changed the lyrics to suit, you know, what's going on today, and it kind of reminded me of Dave Frishberg a little bit. But you know, great performance and innovative, and of course the band was great. So I thought it was cool. I liked it.
All right. Now we'll head to Daryl Grant. Daryl?
Well, I thought tasty was a good
Hey,
word,
handsome.
and I wish that George hadn't mentioned corn because now I'm getting hungry too. But I actually liked the timeliness of it, and I thought as much of what Kathleen does, it's spirited and feisty, I would say, and it reminds me a little bit of this quote that Duke Ellington said that I just took the energy it takes to pout and I wrote a blues. So somebody gives you lemons, somebody gives you a pandemic, you write some new lyrics. So, yeah, it was great, Kathleen.
That's wonderful. Now the beautiful Marcia Hawker.
Hi. Well, I thought that that was a perfect analogy for her to say that it was a plate of cheese, but hard cheese. Not all of us have problems with the soft cheese, so I thought she had an assorted platter because she did deliver. She did deliver some of the lyrics with a softness and a tenderness that was easily spreadable, and.
Wow.
What?
Marcy, you've really embraced the spirit of this.
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
And I too thought it was hip, it was cool, it had a nice little tempo to it, and it had the ambiance of hopefulness that there was, you know, I'm not going to let it get me really down in the dumps. So these are kind of like happy blues. So that's how I saw it.
Merci beaucoup. I love that. Thank you, panel. Viewers, I want you to please make note. You can keep these observations by the judging panel in your head, but you can also make some notes and keep them close when it comes down to the point where we're evaluating at the end. And I need to let you know, if you're watching this, you need to be in the Crowdcast link in order to cast your vote. If you're watching on through Facebook or if you're watching through YouTube, you need to go out and get into the Crowdcast registered link in order to be able to vote. So now we're going to do a little exploration and find out from our fellow board member. Donna, are you there? I want to know how much we've raised at this point and have you explain a little bit more about how to become a sustainer and why PJCE is so vital to you.
Hi, Marilyn. Hi, everyone. We've raised $3,700 so far. We need $1,270 to meet our $5,000 goal. We've had 20 people donate so far, and I'm still getting stuff on my email. Thank you so much for those who have donated to become a PJCE sustainer. We appreciate all your support. We have Stephen and Karen and Jacqueline. Eric, I'm typing in some names. If you're seeing the Crowdcast, you'll see maybe your name pop up. As a PJCE sustainer is any donor who gives a minimum of $5 per month or $60 a year. Monthly gifts ensure a sustainable stream of revenue so that you can continue all of your programming this coming year. If you're interested in becoming a sustainer to enjoy free access to PJCE online events, discounts on PJCE record releases, and ticketed events when the time comes to have in-person concerts, and other perks, go to pjce.com/sustainer. You will have to create a login and choose how you would like to make your donation. You can donate online or through a check. And if you go to the Sustainer website, it will give you the address. So if you would like to make a pledge, you can either let us know through the Crowdcast or you can email us. We just got 2 more. I'm going to check on those. Thank you, Marilyn, and I will keep you guys posted on the Crowdcast.
All right. Thank you, Donna. We're going to move on right now. I'd like to introduce our next oral chef. This is a man that I have worked with in the recent past, and it's been an amazing experience getting to know him better. I'd like to introduce to you right now Jasnam Dea Singh and his composition Presence. This Latin Grammy nominated pianist and composer was born in Brazil. He mastered the folkloric styles of his native country and studied classical music and straight ahead jazz. Through the years, he has released a number of CDs. His most recent PJCE recording, Ekta, the Unity Project, is available on PJCE Records. Jasnam, we eagerly anticipate your intricately spiced oral culinary delight presence.
Hi, my name is Jasnam Dea Singh, and today we are talking about music and cooking and comparing the two activities. Both of them deal with technique, ingredients, and flavor. And in this particular competition, we are using Duke Ellington's song as a point of departure to create something new. In my case, I worked with the harmony, changed a little bit, and then wrote a different melody.
C'est magnifique. Merci beaucoup, monsieur. And now we will bring back the judges panel and get their taste evaluations on Jasnan's entry. Daryl, why don't you go first this time?
I would love to. I'm still just sort of enthralled by that piece, and I'm trying to figure out how it is don't get around much anymore. I feel like he just took that phrase and he translated into another language and then into another time and then just, it's just really, really beautiful and transporting. So yeah, I'm savoring that beautiful piece.
As the MC, I need to reserve myself. So we'll go straight to Marcia.
Well, I couldn't find the tune. The melody wasn't there. However, what was there was that it was very fluid, soothing. It was a real timeout, perfect for decompressing, very pleasant in its whole demeanor. And I just found it to be a place where you could escape and relax and just kind of shed any and every anxiety that you have for that 5 minute piece. Yeah.
Very nice, madame. Now, George?
Well, I really enjoyed it, and if as long as we're doing the food analogy thing, I guess you could call it kind of a fusion of elements because there was a little bit of Brazilian, a little bit of jazz, a little bit of classical, a little bit of Brazilian in there, all kind of mixed together. And two more things. I did hear the melody right at the end of Jasnan's solo, just kind of real slick, kind of almost like because he's thinking like C major, he's thinking of it as A minor, but this is something that I urge my students to do. We do this a lot. It's like take not just like put a new melody on changes, but really take an existing piece and change it so much that the listener doesn't even recognize it anymore. And see, then what happens is that you get 50 and up, like me, and then you don't even remember what the tune was originally. So then you even fool yourself. Like, what was this tune based on? I don't really remember. So
I'm living my entire life this way, George. Right?
Exactly.
I don't remember, but
See, I'm 50, but you're up.
Thank you, Professor.
See, the last thing was now everybody's wearing masks. I'm like, who's this bass player? It's Phil Athens. I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like a new guy in Portland. No, it's Bill sounded great. So I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you all. Thank you all. So insightful. And yes, the depth of scope that we're encountering here tonight should ignite a fire. This is like a chemical catalyst. If anyone is out there viewing this and watching this, and you have desires, you have the inclination to write music, now is the time to get in contact with Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble. They have many levels of involvement, but one thing that I've discovered as a board member is they have a program called Grasshoppers, and it involves some incredible minds, some incredible teachers, but it also involves students of composition and lovers of jazz in levels and ways that I think will continue to keep this music alive. One of the things about jazz and blues and gospel music is that it is all intertwined within the African diaspora of music, with all of these all of this music coming from basically the same foundation. It's incredible in the scope that it will continue to change. It will continue to grow. This music cannot stagnate. That is the main glorious value of this music. That it must continue to grow, or it will die. And we have to continue to educate new artists, new minds, new hearts and souls, so that this music can continue to grow and develop and evolve. I'd like to introduce you to a younger heart and soul right now. Masato Mijiga is a multi-instrumentalist and Portland native. He wears many hats, both literally and figuratively. He's classically trained, jazz seasoned, and delightfully eclectic. He escaped the confines of the creative box early. Machado is a musical renaissance man. Self-expression is his prime objective directive, and his medium of choice changes like the weather. Ladies and gentlemen, Machado Majiga and Precipice.
Good evening, patrons. Chef Machado Majiga, here to present you with my dish. Forged from the instruments of the past and the melodies and harmonies of the future, this piece, Precipice, designed to provide a little bit of spice to a familiar dish that hopefully will win the hearts of the world. Enjoy. This is Precipice.
Amazing! I loved the sous chefs. This is what a professional kitchen staff looks and sounds like. Excuse me. Decorum, Madam Marilyn, please. I will now ask the judges to give their impressions. Mrs. Marcia, why don't you go first this time?
Well, I found it to be, can you hear me? No? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, I
And
hear you just fine, Marcia. I think it might be that Marilyn is lagging behind a little bit, but I hear you just fine, so I think go ahead.
okay. I thought it was a very pleasant meandering of a melody that I couldn't find Duke in, but it was still it was decompressing. Very nice soft percussions and very creative in the journey that he took to take a more abstract route. So yeah, I thought it was very pleasant.
Thank you, ma'am. Daryl Grant, will you chime in, sir?
I will. Now, I have to say, Machado is a wonderful young composer, and I think in the spirit of young people taking chances, always sort of fostering a bit of revolution. But I really love this piece. I thought it was like soul food. It reminds me of one time at a food cart in Portland. I had the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich I ever had. It was like almond butter and jam with a jalapeno sort of jelly and fresh basil. That's what this was. This was like, you take the old standard and then you just totally twist it on its head and you get this savory dish. So that's what I thought of this piece.
That is a great analogy. I'd like to ask George Colligan right now to come on and just regale us, sir.
Well, I really enjoyed it. In fine dining, I suppose presentation is a lot of it, and definitely he had the presentation. That opening bit was just really made me laugh because it got into the spirit of, if you watch those shows, it was totally dead on, and he sold it, and he's a funny cat, so I just made me laugh, and musically, it kind of, it made me feel like I was floating. It had a very floaty, I don't drink anymore, but it kind of reminded me of my vodka days. Is vodka considered a cuisine? Is that a cuisine? Is that an ingredient? So yeah,
it's a diet,
wonderful.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, 5 stars, great.
Thank you. One thing about a precipice, judges, is when you get to that edge, you can either fly or fall. And I think this particular trio, they flew. They absolutely soared on this piece. And again, I'm going to pull back as MC. I should not be casting my own bread upon the water. So, judges,
so to speak.
judges, right now, I'd like you to clear your oral palates, whatever you need to do to take the time that you're going to need to consider this feast of music that has been laid before you. We're going to use this moment in time to also, while the judges are conferring on their results and thinking about the composer chef that they are leaning towards, we're going to have Donna come again and announce the tally of donations. We'd like to thank every single one of you, viewers and sponsors, for being here with us tonight. We'll get the statistics on how many came online and how many watched and how many views of the subject occurred. But right now, we just want to give a huge thank you to those who have given so far. So either clap your hands or do the ASL applaudon, which is both hands waving in the air, and give big smiles to the musicians and the composers and the panel and the board members who are online and our sponsors who are online watching. So Donna, are you ready with the tally up here?
Yeah, I just got another donation. Thank you, Neil. Again, we have, we are down. Let me put this in here real quick. Okay, so we have $740 to meet our $5,000 goal. So far tonight, we've raised $1,260. Thank you, everyone. We've had over 30 donors and sustainers that are now, I see a lot of new faces, which is great. We still have time. Just because we're done doesn't mean you have to stop. Today's Giving Tuesday, but we can always give or pledge in the future. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Donna. Absolutely. Everyone who's online tonight, you can become an ambassador for PJCE. You can share the link to this show, which I think will probably be up and available afterwards. I'll have to check with our tech and artistic and executive director, Mr. Douglas Detrick, who did a fabulous job of linking this all together and taking us between the technical changes of the scene and the screen. Thank you, Douglas, very, very much for that. And I think we've had enough time to hear back from the judges, who will deliver their final remarks before all of you vote for the composer who will receive the Audience Choice Award. All right, now we'll start with the judges. I think I'll go clockwise on my screen. I'm looking at Daryl Grant. Daryl, will you give us your chosen
I will,
recommendation?
Marilyn. It was, it was a tough a tough call. My stomach is full, my ears are full. It was, really a stunning feast, and it's always so great to be in the company of these esteemed jazz supporters and lovers. And Marcia Hawker, I'm just an incredible advocate, and my colleague, the esteemed George Colligan, who I think we should actually maybe have one of these talk shows, George. We could do a morning show. I think it would be
Maybe we
very
could. That's a good
entertaining.
idea,
I think
actually.
we should
That's
do
a good
that.
idea. Yeah.
But so I hope as people are preparing to judge, I just want to give a little bit of my Anthony Bourdain, because I really feel like, this was a cooking show, and so I'm going to have to put my vote in for Precipice. That piece, Machado said he wanted to win our hearts, and it won my heart. I felt like this piece was more than a dish. It was like an entire meal. I mean, you've got this mood that he said of solemn stateliness and precipitous romantic optimism. He established these basic flavors, and then the surprise of a bass solo that gently dissipates into the second theme. It's full of yearning. It reminded me of the last lonely prawn on a bed of mesclun salad with frisee and dandelion greens, and then you've got this delightful pause to savor what we've had in the first course, and he moves on with the delicate ride cymbal, which is reminiscent to me of lightly salted shallots in melted butter. It leads us to a new flavor palette that's introduced by the piano. And, for those aficionados of molecular gastronomy, or otherwise known as post-1970s ECM harmony, you would note the infusion of triadic structures, like the way that Chef Heston Blumenthal at the Michelin restaurant Fat Duck in Berkshire, England, has his signature bacon and egg ice cream or mock turtle soup that transforms these heartwarming melodies that are so familiar from childhood nursery rhymes and major chords to a well-crafted polytonal excursion. And what of the chef himself? How is it that this effervescent blur of scintillating accents on his custom-made Westcraft drums with the 22-inch Istanbul Mehmet cymbals, legend ride cymbal from Revival Drum Shop, never overwhelms the sensual lines of the piano solo? How does he do that? So all that together, I just feel like that's something that, and then of course we get to the dessert course, which is this mesmerizing drum solo that starts with mallets and opens up into a feast of flavor like a wonderful chocolate ganache, or the velvet texture of a creme brulee once you crack through the caramelized surface, and then shimmers away in a clatter of cymbals and percussion. So, audience, this is the kind of dish that we experience speechless. We recede into silence as we place our forks down on the table, grateful for the memory of this experience. So bravo, Chef Machado, bravo. Thank you for this, gracing us with this opportunity to hear your feast of music.
Whoa,
Take
Chef.
that, George. Take that, George Colligan.
It's like hot butter dripping, chocolate.
It's interesting because, first of all, I want to mention that my wife, Carrie Politzer, who's also done stuff with the PJCE, she is a true foodie. In fact, she we used to have a food blog when we lived in New York, and she wrote extensively, and sometimes we would eat out and she'd mention that she had a food blog, and the servers would be like, "Oh, I read your blog," So she can be in the same kind of eloquence that you just demonstrated, Daryl. She can talk about food in that way. She does. I'm just along for the ride. So she might expound in that way about the cuisine. I'm like, yeah, I thought it was pretty good. Tasted good. I'll have some more. Seconds, please.
Seconds.
So I mean, I would concur. Is that I thought Machado was great. I mean, it's hard to judge because they were all great, and I enjoyed all the performances, and it's hard to narrow it down. But just from presentation and originality, and just the overall vibe, I did pick up on his drumming, especially with cymbals. And Machado and I actually talk about cymbals quite a bit.
Yeah, I read you talking about it on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're both cymbal nerds, But I give the nod to Machado for sure.
All right. Did you hear him chopping it up back there? I heard sizzling. I heard simmering.
Use 3 different types of sticks, that's pretty amazing.
All right, to the lovely lady of tonight, Marcia,
Well,
what have you to
yeah.
say?
Well, I think that Machado was the main course, and that Jasmine was one of the side dishes, and that Kathleen was the dessert.
Yeah, that's great.
Great observation. Great observation.
Well,
Now, folks,
I got to shout it out to all three of them really because I mean
absolutely.
it's that's the great thing I love about this music is that you can give people the same ingredients and they come up with something so radically different and original, and that's to me that's one of the great things that I've always loved about PJCE and Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble is that they create the platforms for us as artists to sort of stretch and do these things that we would definitely not do otherwise and come up with this incredible music. So I feel like this organization has become one of the most important jazz organizations on the West Coast, to be modest, but I really feel like they're a model for what organizations across the country can do in supporting a local music community. And, I mean, all of us have benefited as artists, Marilyn, George and myself have benefited greatly by having this wonderful organization here fueling our community.
Absolutely. Now, I
Yeah,
would,
and the other thing that I'd like to say is that we who are the listeners, the ones who come out and support, buy the tickets, do the promoting, we appreciate the dedication. It takes a lot of hours of dedication to practice this art and
yes,
to be able to deliver it authentically. And that is just commendable.
yes, it is. I would ask all of you if you could see this happening on an annual or even a biannual basis as a template for future writers and fundraisers.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
We'll definitely
Well, Daryl and I
take
are gonna
note
have
of
our
that.
morning show. We're gonna do it on
That's
our
right.
morning show.
We're gonna have to
Not
figure
too
out ways.
early though. Not too
No,
early.
no.
Yeah, on psu.edu, right?
Yeah.
It's our new network, our new remote broadcasting network.
Okay, and then I have a cousin who's an executive director. She was an executive director for the Oprah Winfrey Show for many years. Now she's working on The View, so I could definitely get in contact with my cousin and see if she'd be interested in floating this idea. Right
Yeah.
now, we're going to have Douglas, our tech and artistic director. He'll bring the audience choice poll up for the viewers. And this is live now, so only the Crowdcast viewers will be able to cast a vote. Viewers have just a couple of minutes to vote, and then we'll come back with the tally and the statistics for the audience choice winner. Donna, while that is happening, will you please announce the continuing tally of donations and thank those who have given them so far?
Hello. Hello, everyone. We are at $4,285. So we still short 715, but I think we can do that. We have lots of donors. We have Richard and Greg and Dawn and Peter and Bob and Jacqueline and Karen, Marcia, Lee, Stephen, Neil, Monica, Kevin, Pamela, Martin, Mark. We just have a lot of donors, and the ones that, oh my goodness, lots more. Eric and Mary, and the list goes on. Thank you all for donating, and now you have a chance to vote. Looks like we're getting some votes in.
Oh, that's
Yes.
great.
Yeah, this poll, we can see it online. This is great.
This is what I call sweet fields right here. We're preparing the fields for the seeds, and then once the seeds are in and watered and nurtured, and this is fertile ground as we have our fertile ground uh, um, festival coming up. I don't know how that's going to happen this season in January. It'll probably be virtually done. Um, Douglas and I just got the happy results of the Be About Love festival through Blackfish Gallery, where Douglas approached me under the auspices of Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble to write original lyrics for this festival. And I, of course, asked Daryl Grant, one of our judges, to help me flesh them out, to put them to music. And that is available now on PJCE Records through Bandcamp. I like to do a little selfless promotion right there. But as the audience continues to vote and we get close to the reveal, I would like to take a moment to invite those of you who are out there who have the time, who have the inclination, to check into Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble as a possible board member. Now, we haven't discussed this completely, but we do want to grow our foundation and grow our reach into the community. Portland is such a big, huge metropolitan area, and it not only includes the city on this side of the river, but we can reach into Vancouver, Washington, down the valley into Salem and Corvallis and Eugene. We need to be able to have these kind of bridges built, and I think events like this tonight will be one of those bridge building sources. Once we have the name of Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble on people's mind, on their lips, then they will begin to share this. And this is how the grassroots are growing. They'll share it with their friends and their family and say, this amazing thing happened on Tuesday night. You should have been there. I wish I'd shared it with you before, but now I can share it with you. And you can go to the website and become a sustainer, become a member, or just inquire as to what you can do as a volunteer to grow this organization and grow its outreach. Are we close to a reveal here,
Yeah,
Douglas?
I think we're getting really close.
All
what
right.
I see. So if you haven't voted, and this is your chance. This is your time right now. Make sure you do it. Looks like
they're
it's
still coming in.
I think we're pretty much done. So what I'm seeing is coming in very much not least, but in third place is Kathleen Hollingsworth. In second place is Jasnam Dea Singh. And first place, as Mr. Daryl Grant might be happy about, and perhaps caused to happen, the winner for the night of the Audience Choice Award is going to be Machado Majiga.
Lift him up. Lift him up. Now, fans and viewers, this young man's website should be blown up tonight. The social media pages should explode with inquiries about him and his music, and the same thing should go for Jasnam Dea Singh and Ms. Kathleen Hollingsworth. If you watch the Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble page and check the calendar of events, you'll be able to see when Kathleen is going to be performing a virtual concert of music in December. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Bow and Arrow Wines, JGP Wealth Management, Toscano Advisors, and the 1905. Thanks to all the donors, the artists, PJCE board, and staff members, and everyone else out there who has supported this organization and this event tonight. This is a beginning. This is a Genesis moment. We're just starting out on this journey together. Yeah. So invite as many as you can to join us, and we'll link arms virtually. We'll link hearts and minds spiritually, and we will make this organization, Portland Jazz Composers Ensemble, a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. So please consider becoming a jazz sustainer if you have not. Please go to www.pjce.org and shop the incredible discography that is lodged there. All of the artists, including myself and Douglas Detrick, have websites and social media pages that need frequent visits, likes and comments. So go, seek us
Yeah.
out. Join
Now
us on this jazz journey.
So Marilyn, we've got an extra special surprise that we didn't plan on, but I orchestrated this kind of at the last moment. So I invited all of our artists to join us. So Kathleen and Jasnam and Machado are all backstage with me. So I'm going to bring them all up. Here you go, guys.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Where is
Hello, dear friends.
Oh, here he is. Okay.
How are you? Thank you so much.
Young star.
Hey guys, thank you all so much for your work. Beautiful work on these pieces. It was so fun to hear them and great to see what people thought about them.
Yeah, congratulations, Machado and Kathleen. It was great spending the evening making music with the two of you.
Maestro.
Yeah, absolutely. And congratulations, Machado. Audience choice.
I mean, I have to give it all thanks be to Daryl Grant for that, honestly. I don't think that I would have won if it weren't for his moving speech that I could have sworn must have been written down. He must have been writing this entire time. The entire stream he had to have been writing. He had to have been drafting this, or he was just waiting for this moment to give such a sonnet about something that everyone had just heard very recently.
I kind of equated it to a Muhammad Ali, 1-2 punch. He had a flurry of words, and his spirit just reached out through the Ethernet and enveloped us all. And the same thing with all of your music. It really was wonderful. Great job. Great. Kathleen, I loved your turnaround of the lyrics and bringing the situation that we're in, this isolation that we've been under. And it is sometimes shocking to go out there and see streets and businesses that are just, you could shoot a cannon through and not hit anything or anyone. But I know that we're all going to make it through this. We're going to come out on the other side better, stronger, and safe. That's what we're hoping for and praying for, that everybody remains safe, that you remain away from this viral field. Don't become a vector. Don't let anyone come into your bubble that could expose you to this. One of the reasons why I'm being so stringent is because I am a vocal instrument. And if that virus gets inside my body and into my metabolism, it will kill my voice. I only get the one set of vocal cords. I only get the one set of lungs. I only get that chance to live this life with. I mean, I understand that there are other vocalists out there that have gone through this, and I hope and pray that they make it back to career level usage of their voice. But I will not become a vector. I will not become a victim of this virus, and that's why we're doing this tonight, and that's why we'll continue to be safe and sane until we can come up with a safe vaccine and everyone can make it through to the other side. Thank you all. Yeah, thank you so much again.
Let's bring back our judges as well, because we want to thank them, and thank you all so much for offering your thoughts about the music and advocating for this organization. I appreciate it so much.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounded great, you guys. Beautiful music.
Yeah. Great. We'll have to get together again. I want to hear from the three composers just what you thought when Douglas approached you about this project, and what the process was of coming to your final piece and your final offering tonight. It was a feast of music, and I really, really thank you all.
Thanks so much, Marilyn.
Great. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we could talk all night about it, but I think we got to wrap it up for now.
So can I do that as the MC?
Thank you all so much to the folks at home that are watching and donating. Right. We really appreciate your support. Thanks to the musicians. Thanks also to all the board members that aren't on screen, but they've also been working hard to bring us to this point. And then also a big thanks to Ryan Marr and Mika Brueggemann and Kim Gumbel, who have also worked behind the scenes, making all the wheels turn at PJCE. So thank you guys, and thanks everybody. Good night.
Right. Thank you. I'd like to say one last thing.
One last thing.
Merci beaucoup, monsieur et madame. Bon appétit. Au revoir. And we will see you again.
Oh, I have one last thing to say too. Before everybody goes. Go I know it's if anybody's curious, The melody to Don't Get Around Very Much Anymore, or Don't Get Around Much Anymore, is explicitly stated in my composition. So if you want to hear it, it's directly in there. I can send you the PDF of the music if you need to, for the judges if they need to. I'm not going to try and destroy it. I won't. I'm not trying to ruin it. Of course, there's some magic behind it, but I will be releasing the song of the single on Friday.
You already won. You don't need to.
It's okay. It's okay.
One thing I'd like to ask of our artistic tech director, Douglas, will this particular broadcast be up on any platform where people can review it or send it to other people?
Yes, it'll be on both YouTube and Facebook, and it'll be on here at the same link on Crowdcast.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Everyone, you heard that.
Yeah, make sure to
away.
share.
Good night, everybody.
Share away.
And I'm going to post mine on Bandcamp because I've mixed it.
Good.
Cool.
Very good.
Excellent.
Thank you, guys.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.
Bye-bye.
Bon nuit.